Volume is what? What did we talk about yesterday? What is volume? Caleb.
The space within.
Yeah, the space within it, right? So today we're only looking at cylinders. The nice part of cylinders, there's only one shape to a cylinder. It always looks about like this. Okay, it might be skinnier and taller or shorter and fatter. Yeah, your pencils are kind of a cylinder, except for pencils. Some pencils have flat edges and some are rounded. If they're rounded, it's a cylinder. If it has some flat edges, then it's a prism. So like these pencils, I think are not rounded. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. These are hexagonal prisms. Okay, but some pencils are flat or just smooth on the outside. But cylinders are just circles. Okay, they're circles that are stretched out. So they have a base. The base of a cylinder is always a circle. Okay, and they have a height. The height is always the distance between the two bases. Okay, so if I take a cylinder and I lay it on its side, okay, even if it's laying on its side, this is the height. It'd be just like if I laid on the ground and said, measure my height, you wouldn't measure this way. You would measure from my feet to my head. Okay, so you always measure the height between the two bases. You have to imagine it flipped up. Okay, so the volume of the cylinder is very similar to finding the volume of prisms. The formula is the same. V equals capital B times H. Write that down. The nice part of this is the base is always the same. What's the base again in a cylinder? No matter what, what's the base? A circle. So if I need to find the area of the base, what am I going to do? How do I find the area of a circle? Go ahead, Caleb.
Pi times radius squared.
Right. So volume equals pi times radius squared times height. Always. It's never going to change. Okay, it's always a circle times the height. Okay, so pi times radius squared times height. That is our formula that we're going to use over and over and over. Okay, obviously we're going to need a calculator. So grab that out. If you need to borrow a calculator, come and grab one. You don't want to do this in your head when you're multiplying by pi. That's too much for our brains to handle. So grab a calculator if you need one. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is find the area of the circle. So if I look at this example in the middle, pi times radius squared, I'm going to do 3.14 times the radius here is 2 squared. What does 2 squared mean? 2 times itself. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3.14 is 12.56. Don't round that yet. We're not going to round until the very end. Okay, so we have 12.56. We have to do the area of the base times the height of the prism. Or the height of the cylinder, sorry. The height of the cylinder is 6. So times that by 6, we get 75.36. We are going to round to the nearest 10. So what would that be? Go ahead. 75.4 units cubed. Okay? It's really that simple. Find the area of the circle, multiply by the height. This is what your homework's going to be. Okay? And it's the same for every single one. So let's start with this one. Okay? Volume equals pi times pi times radius squared times height. Okay, so pi is 3.14. What's the radius of this cylinder, Tyler? 8, so 8 squared. What's the height? Go ahead, Tyler. 20. Okay, we have to follow order of operations. We do the 8 squared first. 8 squared means 8 times 8. So 8 times 8 is 64 times 3.14. This part right here, the circle, is 200.96. And then times the height, 20. I got 4,019.2 meters cubed. There's the volume of that cylinder. How come we get decimals when we're talking about cylinders? We didn't get so many decimals yesterday when we were dealing with prisms. Why do we get decimals when we're dealing with cylinders? What do you think? Right. And so think about that. When we're dealing with prisms and we're trying to make cubes fit in a prism, does that work nice? Yeah, right? It's nice straight edges. Does it work nice to make a cube fit in a cylinder? No. Okay? Cubes don't fit in cylinders very well. Then it ends up being decimals because you have to chop pieces off and move them around. Okay, it's not going to fit inside there very well. Okay? Alright, let's try the next one. Volume equals pi times radius squared times height. Same thing. We're doing 3.14 for pi. Here's where we have to be careful. What's the radius of this cylinder? We always need the radius here. Go ahead, Dylan. 4, right? This line is going all the way across, so that's the diameter, meaning the radius would equal 4. So 4 squared. What's the height of the cylinder? Matthew. 12. It's laying on its side this time. We can do this all at once. 4 squared, 4 times 4 is 16, times 3.14 times 12. I got 602.88. If I'm rounding to the nearest 10th, 602.9 inches cubed. Alright, questions there? Okay, you try the next one on your own. Can of vegetables has a radius of 2 inches and a height of 4 inches. What's the volume of the can? The same process. Pi times radius squared times height. Is it giving you fraction? Then press this button. That'll change it to a decimal. Did it work, Nicholas? Okay, what did you get? Tyler, what did you get? Does everybody agree? 50.2? And it should be inches cubed, right? So pi times radius squared times height, 3.14 times the radius was 2, so 2 squared times the height was 4. Okay, sometimes again, you guys, it might help you to have a picture. To draw a cylinder is really easy. Draw like an oval with 2 lines and connect them. If it helps you to draw a picture, sometimes you might need to do that. You can then label it. Here's the radius 2 and the height 4. Okay? Easy enough? Okay, one last round. Alright, this is a little different. Okay, it says, Carly is making candles. Her cylindrical shaped mold, should say has, a diameter of 3 inches and holds 226.08 cubic inches of candle wax. Has anybody ever made candles? When I was in elementary school, this is what we did one year for like a Christmas gift for our parents. You know, like when you make these fun gifts. Like in 5th grade, we made candles. You had to like keep dipping it in the wax and pulling it out of the wax. It's one of those weird things that I remember. Okay, so we want to figure out what is the height of her mold. Okay, you guys, this is why we usually start by writing the formula down. Because if we write the formula down, now we can plug everything into that. So start by writing that. V equals pi times radius squared times height. And then let's fill in what we know. Do we know the volume? Yeah, this problem tells us that it holds this much. So that's the volume. 226.08 equals, what's pi? 3.14. Do we know the radius? Well, not yet, right? But can we figure out the radius? What's the radius? Savannah? 1.5. The 3 is the diameter. That means the radius is half of that, so 1.5. So we have 1.5 squared. We don't know the height yet, times h. Okay, let's start by doing this first. Draw your line. Okay, simplify anything we can. We can multiply these things together. 1.5 times 1.5 times 3.14. I got 7.065 times h equals my volume. Once we have that, can we finish solving it? How do we solve this? Go ahead, Tabby. Yes. Make sure you divide in the right order. The 226.08 divided by 7.065. You can't round it at all yet. Okay, just do the dividing. So 226.08 divided by 7.065. Did you get 32? That's what I got. H is 32 inches. That's a tall candle. Like this?
That's like an Easter.
Yeah, that's like the Easter candle. I would agree with that. Okay? So it's a 30, that's how tall her mold was. Maybe that's not how tall she actually made her candle, but the mold was 32 inches tall. Questions there? Okay, finding volume of cylinders is pretty simple because there's only one shape. Can't look much different, okay? So, that's it for notes today.